Okay, greetings and welcome to another trailer reaction. This is going to be my trailer reaction to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Remake Part 2. And I figured I would do this. It's the first time watching this. My first time watching this. Because I noticed that Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is now available on Steam, and it's on sale for 29% off, and I'm pondering whether or not to get it or not. It comes out to be about $49 and some change, so about $50. Normally it's about $70, so I thought it's a pretty good price. I'll get to my history with the Final Fantasy series, of which it is very little. I do want to preface that just this past Wednesday, I had the first part of the surgery thing. It's a surgery, and it hurt. They numbed me and everything, and did what they had to do, but it still hurt. I don't want to talk more. I don't want to get too specific into it right now because I just don't feel comfortable talking about it. But at that. After it was done, they gave me some ibuprofen right over here, which I don't have to take anymore. I took it that day after the surgery, a little bit during the next day, but it's okay now. And they also gave me amoxicillin because I could feel the fever. You know, it's almost like it's fighting back, like it presses, like it kind of breaks through a little bit, and then, you know, when they take the medicine, it causes it to, you know, it pushes it back, the fever, but it comes back and forth. Just when I think that it's completely gone, then I could start to feel it creep in again. So it's a good thing I have these. And it says here too, if I've taken amoxicillin before, and you're supposed to take it until it's all gone, until it's fully depleted, not when you think that it's gone. Because if you stop, and even though you think it's completely gone, there's a good chance it could creep back in, and it will come back even stronger. So there's that. And before I can proceed with the next part of the surgery, I have to gather the funds. Now this is where the funds come into play, so I have to, you know, gather that. So I'm in the works of, you know, getting the money for that. So hopefully I can have that done. The whole process is going to take about maybe I'll say anywhere between 8 to 10 months until it will finally be done. Then I can, you know, talk a little bit more about it. But for now, you know, I'm feeling like nauseous a bit, and you know, not feeling 100%, of course. Nauseous and headaches, and there's other problems I've been having, you know. It's something where it's random, you know, in addition to the high blood pressure and you know, all the blood pressure pills that I'm taking, you know, all this stuff. I have like 4 of them that I'm taking, and now it's more pills on top of that. You know, sometimes when I breathe in like deep, it just randomly happens where there's like a pain, and it's not really chest pains. I remember my first job, and it's something I've had for years. I want to say I really started noticing it, I want to say maybe like late teens, where when I begin to inhale, there's like a pain, like, you know, it's like a pain, and I have to go out, you know, breathe out, and then, so then, just when I thought maybe I'll take it slow, and, you know, even when I'm breathing in slowly, it's still that there's like a weird kind of pain, and it's not like the kind of pain like something fell on my chest or something. I don't know what that is. I heard the word once. Someone said fluoresces or something like that. I don't know. But it's something I've lived with, but it seems like it's maybe progressively, you know, becoming slightly more frequently, you know, and so yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. That you know, I'm not. I recorded my Vestron collection overview, but that was before that surgery, and I just released it, I think yesterday on Friday. So this is technically the first video I'm making post surgery, but the real surgery is yet to come. But yeah, it's very little pain now, but it was worse, a lot worse, you know, of course, after it was done, and the day after, and it's beginning to slowly go away, but yeah, there's just, it's not completely gone, and then there's a fever creeping back in. But anyways, getting back to that, so I just wanted to preface that, and I do want to continue with my Let's Plays. I have a bunch of KOTOR Knights of the Old Republic 2 videos that's going to be uploading, or rather releasing, a week at a time, but I may change that and make it maybe 2 videos a week, maybe even 3. I have so many backed up from, you know, I'll say this, the reason for the surgery, there was something unfortunate happened. I'll say that the beginning part of, I want to say the first few episodes of my KOTOR videos, my Knights of the Old Republic videos, that was before the unfortunate thing happened. Then I think the rest of it was after the unfortunate thing that happened, which caused me to have this surgery and the other surgery that would require, you know, a few steps to it. So just so you know, when you see those, it was before the surgery, but after the unfortunate thing that happened. So I want to get back to that, but also there's Daggerfall Unity. There's a new version that's fully modded, that's on GOG, that I downloaded, and it was for free, and I might do a Let's Play of that. I think I have to start a new game, but I didn't get really far anyways on my other one. And there's the Final Fantasy VII Remake that I'm thinking about. My history with the game, well, I started off as a PC gamer in the 80s, of course, games like The Bard's Tale, in the 80s on the Apple IIe, Ultima, then like Might and Magic, Stone Keep, what else? The Elder Scrolls series, starting with Daggerfall. That was the first Elder Scrolls game I started with. Diablo, you know, games like that. There came a point where the games began to exceed the computer, overpower my computer, and it was around that time when I started to work for Funcoland, which is a GameStop. Basically, it was GameStop before it became, or it was Funcoland before it became GameStop, and I worked there. So, you know, when you're around it, it's as Jacqueline Phoenix said in 8mm, when you dance with the devil, you don't change the devil changes you, kind of thing. So I got into, you know, the console gaming, and I discovered it was also around that time when Final Fantasy VII was coming out, along with games like, you know, Resident Evil 2, which I played that one and completed it. Final Fantasy VII, I know it was a big hype and everything, but when I looked into it, it got great reviews in the Game Informer magazines, but I mean, there were little sprite characters, and like they're squished, and something about it didn't quite appeal to me. It wasn't until, I don't want to get into everything, I'll just now try to stay focused now on the Final Fantasy subject, but my history with, you know, the gaming, it's quite extensive, but I won't get into that. not that I'm an expert or anything, or like such a great gamer that I beat every game out there and I know every little nook and cranny of the game and cheat and whatever. I just love to play the games, and I have a love for them, and I get into the lore. But with Final Fantasy, my actual first Final Fantasy game I played was Final Fantasy VIII with Squall Leonhardt, and I can't remember the name of the guy, but I think it wasn't Sephiroth. That was like in 7. It was I think it also began with an S. I could be wrong. And they had gunblades as their main weapon, and that was the game that really appealed to me. They had a much more realistic look to them and features, and I played that one to completion, and I more or less enjoyed the game, mostly because it's all there was, and I couldn't really play a lot of the PC games anymore. You could say it was like the best I could do at the time, but I still more or less enjoyed it. It was a little weird, of course, being a JRPG, but the story kept me involved. And I've played other JRPGs during that time. I can't remember the exact order I played them in, which came first, which before what, but I also played and completed. Did I complete it? I think I completed Suikoden, Suikoden, that game, the first one, where there's over like 100, it might be like 108 party members that you can recruit. Suikoden, Necklord's Castle and all that. Wild Arms I played a bit of. Xenogears I completed, I know for sure, and Final Fantasy VIII I completed, and that is the extent of my experience with JRPGs. I know it may sound like a lot, but considering all the JRPGs out there and all just the Final Fantasy games alone, and I played when I had a DS. I played Final Fantasy 3, which I think Final Fantasy 3 was really like Final Fantasy 7 or something. It was some kind of weird, with the American version, Japanese version, and I'm not too sure, but I played a little bit of that, very, very little. I don't really focus all my time on playing handhelds or phone games. I only play them when I'm out, that kind of thing. But technically, it's just Xenogears and Final Fantasy VIII that I've completed, and then I've played, and possibly Suikoden. I remember playing that one a lot. I really like recruiting the characters, in there, and the team attacks I thought were pretty fun. But anyways, that's my experience with the Final Fantasy franchise, and let's go check out this Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is part 2 to the remake. And maybe you guys can help me out and let me know if it's actually worth getting Final Fantasy VII remake, if it's actually a good game. I just remember these kind of JRPGs being very linear, and you can't really break off and go in any direction. You had to kind of follow a direct path. You can't branch off, and it forces you, it hand holds you to go into certain, go down a certain road, a path, and you have to do it. But from what I've seen in the reviews, that there are side quests that you could kind of take on at any moment. It looked like they opened up the world a lot more, so it's not completely focused, and it's not completely making you follow one path. Of course, when you start going through the main story, I understand, just like with all games, that it's going to be linear. But my point is, you're able to take it at your own pace and break off from it and go do whatever you want, what other side quests, or go to other lands or whatever. So if it's something like that, I'm highly interested in that, and what I've seen of the gameplay looked very interesting to me. So let's go check this Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and see how I like it. I hit the stop button. I'm really sorry about that. Here we go.
What we've done, that's set in stone. The past is forever. But the future, even if it has been written, can be changed. So focus on the future, not the past.
wants to finish what he started. He wants to reclaim his birthright and rule over the planet with Genova at his side. I saw you lying there. I figured it was too late.
Wait, what are you implying? That I died? That I'm some kind of imposter?
You were here with me 5 years ago. Where are you? What happened to you?
I'm trying so hard to find you.
Sorry. Feel like I failed you.
I don't really have a lot of context or any context to go on this. Next winter, would that be winter 2023 then, and not this coming winter? That's very sad if that's the case. That's another thing too. I know that each installment of Final Fantasy, even though it's 1, 2, 3, they have nothing to do with each other. There's always a whole new story, whole new character. So 7 had nothing to do with 8. You know, it's Squall Heart, and this one is Cloud Strife. So it's just completely different, and the lore, I think, is I want to say is completely different, or at least different a little bit, other than the fact that there's chocobos. But I think things are different. So it's been so long anyways. If there is some kind of correlation between 7 and 8 or some of the others, it's been so long since I played 8 and completed it. I don't remember much. I think I was able to summon something called Leviathan, some kind of summon creature, and it goes through a long cutscene of the water. That's the thing, when you use your, again, I forgot all the terminology as it's been so long. I felt like when I was playing it though, that game, because it was linear, the game was playing me just as much as I was playing it. You know, it's kind of like I didn't really have any freedom, which is what the linearity is, which is my fear that this Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be like at first, until I saw what I saw. But maybe you guys can enlighten me about that. The cutscenes were all super long. Not just the spell ones, when you summon a spell, then you got to go through the whole animation, but when it goes to the next breakpoint of, you know, when you hit the next not benchmark, but you hit the next checkpoint in the story, that it goes through like a seemingly 10, 15, 20-minute long movie, CGI movie, you know, and you got to sit there, and then you're just kind of going through the motions of going to the next step, and you get into a fight. The fights are all, you know, attack, cure, attack, or you know, it's very basic, and then it goes through the thing, you know, and whether you summon a spell. But this looks different. The way they handled combat in here, it looks like it's a lot more active, like you're actively controlling the combat versus just putting in your moves and letting it play out and you just watch. It looks like it's more active. You know, you have to actively do something, and it's more interactive. So that's one thing that looks really cool. And of course, it has a cinematic feel to it, but it's not all like sitting through an animation. You know, like how 8 was. Again, maybe you guys can enlighten me on this and let me know if this game is actually good. If Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually good, is it worth the $50? If the story is great, I mean, I love my story, and this would be a fresh experience for me, and a fresh, you know, since I have no knowledge of this world and what goes on there, that's what's been, you know, usually if I'm playing, you know, a Diablo game or an Elder Scrolls game, I already have, you know, a very, very good idea of what is going to take place, what um, what consists in that world, what resides in that world. You know, the Joemer, the Altmer, Bosmer, you know, which are the Wood Elves, right, and the Dunmer are the Dark Elves, the Altmer, the High Elves, you know, things like that, Argonians, Khajiits. You know, I'm very familiar with Western RPGs, and this is like a fresh take, and it is sci-fi. I'm not always all about the fantasy, you know, RPGs, fantasy Western RPGs like dragons and stuff like that, and orcs and goblins. I love Mass Effect, you know, it's sci-fi, you know, as you know, KOTOR, you know, Knights of the Old Republic. So this is still, you know, and of course post-apocalyptic stuff like Fallout. So I'm interested if this story is quite good. Is it better than 8? Again, not that I remember really much from 8, just certain glimpses of what I saw during combat and maybe moving around, but I don't remember anything about plot. I remember it was, I think, a short-haired blonde guy that was a villain. I think his name was Secor or something, Celicor or Secor or something, as the villain, began with an S, I think. And then I played Squall Leonhardt. Also, something that appealed to me when I saw the trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake, there's someone called Gyuffie, and she's like a ninja, and you get to play her, and I love my ninjas, so that looks pretty cool. So, guys, you know, please let me know if this is actually a good game, if it's worth, you know, getting it at the discounted price. I'm looking for something new, and this looks like it fits the bill. So please, you know, give me your opinion if you know and what you think. Thank you.